American Top 40.
This is Casey Kasem in Hollywood on AT40, and our third debut song is a remake of the old Kinks hit from the 60s. Coming in at number 38, here's the four-man group from Pasadena, California, who call themselves Van Halen. They have You Really Got Me.
Girl, you really got me now.
Van Halen is the name of the group. They're newcomers. It's their first hit. They're at number 38 with a debut record. You Really Got Me.
American Top 40.
Now we're up to the current hit by the band that features a superstar among rock guitarists. This 27-year-old musician has been constantly top-rated in the prestigious magazine Guitar Player, a magazine written 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 for and often by professional guitarists. In 1978, this man won the Guitar Player magazine poll as Best New Talent 79 through 82 every year as Best Rock Guitarist. Those 5 awards have placed him in Guitar Player magazine's Gallery of Greats, along with legendary guitar superstars like Country King Chet Atkins, Rhythm and Blues great B.B. King, Master of the Classical Guitar Andre Segovia, and rock guitar hero Eric Clapton. This young musician has gotten some of his publicity outside of rock and roll. That's because his wife is a television star, a star of TV's One Day at a Time. But his reputation, Eddie Van Halen's reputation, comes from his own talent. And his wife thinks so too. When a Los Angeles Times reader wrote that he didn't think much of her husband's playing, she wrote a letter back saying, quote, "Anyone who has invented new techniques on a guitar has been voted Best New Talent of 1978, Best Rock Guitarist of 1979, 80, 81, and 82, and is the youngest entry into the Guitar Player Gallery of Greats, qualifies as a virtuoso." And that is Edward Van Halen. Signed, Valerie Bertinelli Van Halen. Eddie Van Halen, whose guitar playing is featured on the #1 album in the country, Michael Jackson's Thriller. Here he is, playing guitar and synthesizer on his own band's latest hit, leaping 9 big notches to number 11, Van Halen with Jump. From the LP 1984, that's Van Halen with the song Jump. It moves up 9 notches third week on the chart to number 11 in our countdown as the countdown continues.
Casey's Coast to Coast. American Top 40. Top 40.
I'm Casey Kasem. Now, the story of the band who could draw 3,000 people to a concert before they had ever released a record. I'm talking about the band from the home of the Rose Bowl, Pasadena, California. The band named Van Halen. The 4 members of Van Halen joined forces about 10 years ago during their last months of high school, and they quickly became a popular band at school, playing all the dances. After graduation, things got even better. Lead singer David Lee Roth told us, "We were the backyard party band around Pasadena. We'd play anywhere, anytime. Beach ball parties, frat parties, birthday parties, anything." Well, Van Halen became so popular that they could sometimes make $500 playing a party. They just have the party giver charge $1 a person admission. That was about 8 years ago, and it was a lot of money for a local band to make, more than they could have made playing local clubs. Soon, Van Halen were in demand all over Southern California. They started asking for top dollar in clubs, and they even put on their own concerts. They'd rent a hall, set up a stage, print up a few flyers, advertising the show, and 3,000 to 4,000 people would show up. And this young band didn't even have a record deal. But with all this action, the major labels began to take notice. And by the fall of 1977, Van Halen were signed to Warner Brothers Records. Since then, it's been 6 multi-platinum albums selling millions of copies. And now, their first #1 single. For the 5th week in a row, the most popular song in the land is by Van Halen, Jump. The #1 song in the USA for 5 consecutive weeks. Van Halen with Jump from the LP 1984.
American Top 40.
We're on our way to the number one song in the USA. Now we're up to the current hit by the hot rock and roll band featuring the hottest guitarist in the business today. I'm talking about Van Halen, which features guitarist Eddie Van Halen. But Eddie says that when he first got into rock music, he didn't want to play guitar. He wanted to play the drums. He told Guitar Player magazine it all started when he was 12 years old, and he first heard this record. That's a piece of Wipeout by the Safaris, a record that's just filled with drums. It was the most exciting thing that Eddie Van Halen had ever heard when he was 12 years old. He bought the record, then he went out and bought his own drum set. He says it was a $125 St. George drum set. I got a paper route to pay for it, and I'm out throwing the paper 5 in the morning in the rain with a bicycle with a flat tire, while my older brother, Alex, is supposed to be taking flamenco guitar lessons, and instead he's playing my drums. Eventually, he got better than me. He could play Wipeout, and I couldn't. Finally, I said, you keep the drums, and I'll play guitar. From then on, we've always played together. End of quote. Today, Eddie Van Halen is considered one of the best and most innovative guitarists around. And brother Alex, well, he plays some pretty mean drums. Here they are with singer David Lee Roth and bass player Michael Anthony. Together, they form the group Van Halen. At number 31, here's Panama. Moving 8 big notches from 39 to 31, second week in the countdown, Van Halen with Panama. 30 big ones to number 1 as the countdown continues.
Casey's Coast to Coast. American Top 40.
The other band in the survey who made a switch are the band originally from Pasadena. The band whose frontman was the fast-talking, flashy, wild and crazy David Lee Roth. Last summer, he announced he was leaving, and a lot of Van Halen fans wondered what would happen. Well, they wonder no more. In stepped the Red Rocker, who's had his own solo hits, Sammy Hagar. He helped Van Halen get their first number 1 album. Their recent number 1 album, 5150. A hit from it peaked at number 3. Now it's at number 11 this week. Van Halen and Why Can't This Be Love? Van Halen on American Top 40 have their 8th Top 40 hit with Why Can't This Be Love? It peaked last week at number 3. This week, it falls to number 11. 10 big ones to number 1 as the countdown continues.
The hits from coast to coast. American Top 40.
This is American Top 40 special countdown of the biggest hits so far in the 1980s. In this decade, a popular heavy metal band from L.A. who started back in the 1970s finally hit the big time. A band featuring an innovative guitar genius and a fast-talking, wild and woolly front man. And their number 1 song was so popular, a few other acts recorded versions of it for albums.
You assume, well, this is rock and roll, it's disposable, you know, it's not biodegradable, you're going to have to leave it behind and whatever, and somebody comes with a rendition of Jump that sounds more like Willie Nelson. Wow, maybe there is a future for this stuff. I have no idea. I do know we're getting to be a little bit better songwriters. We're starting to write a little bit better melodies, and that's what kind of puts something up there for a while to begin with. You've got to have that melody. You've got to be able to sing the song, hum it along with the radio, and feel like it's your own, like you're the singer.
We're going to do that right now. That was Diamond David Lee Roth. Today he's gone solo from the band Van Halen, but back in 1984 they hit number 1 together. That song's the 22nd most popular song of the 80s. Come on, everybody, jump! Number 1 for 5 consecutive weeks back in 1984. Van Halen jumping in at number 22 on American Top 40 as we continue to count down the 80s biggest hits.
Casey's Coast to Coast.
Well, now we're up to the band Van Halen, a bunch of hard-rockin', fun-lovin' guys who are known for being pretty crazy. But one time, drummer Alex Van Halen did something so crazy that it completely shocked the rest of the band. Happened a couple of years ago when Van Halen were in Chicago winding down a world tour. Lead singer Sammy Hagar said, "We've got to do something special after the last show, not a party, not a trip, something different. Let's all shave our heads." Sure, Sammy. Well, everybody got a great big laugh out of that one, and they all made a pact. So the day after the last show, Alex, acting in good faith, lived up to the deal. He went into a local barber and said, "I want it all off, except for the eyebrows." And the barber buzzed him. Great handfuls of dark brown hair lay on the floor. Alex walked out of the barber shop a complete chrome dome. Then he went back to the hotel where the band was staying, and he knocked on Eddie's door. Eddie opened the door and said, "Scary, man," then laughing hysterically told him, "Look, I've changed my mind." Alex was a little frosted. He went to see Sammy next, the man who started this whole thing in the first place. Sammy opened the door, stuttered a little, and said, Look, I got a solo record to do, man. I think I better keep my hair. Maybe later, okay?" And closed the door. Alex kept his cool, said fine. Next, he walked down the hall to bass player Michael Anthony's room. Now, you should know Mike's hair is beginning to thin out a little as it is. He opened the door. His face remained expressionless. He looked Alex over. Casually, he said, I better not do it. It might not grow back." And he closed the door. So Alex, the man who plays the skins for Van Halen, was left as the lone skinhead. In time, his hair grew out. But Alex says it wasn't really that bad anyway. Quote, "I'll tell you, women just love to come up and touch it." End of quote. From the once happy bald band member of Van Halen, Alex Van Halen. Here they are at number 37 in the countdown with their latest, Black and Blue. Van Halen down 3 notches to number 37 with Black and Blue, but their album OU812 just hit number 1 on the album chart.
The hits from coast to coast. American Top 40.
You're listening to American Top 40. I'm Shadoe Stevens. Now the story of two brothers who made a promise to their father on his deathbed. They're Eddie and Alex Van Halen of the group Van Halen, known as the Party Band. And Eddie and Alex have been known as being major party animals and big drinkers, and so was their father, Jan Van Halen, who died last year. Eddie told writer Kevin Connell all the years of heavy drinking and cigarettes finally caught up with him. But before he died, Jan Van Halen made a final request to his sons. Eddie says on his deathbed, he pulled Alex and me over to him and told us to stop drinking or we'd end up like him. He said if he'd known he was going to end up like that, he would have stopped years ago. After their father died, the Van Halen boys checked into a Betty Ford Center for treatment. Eddie says first Alex went in, and he took it very seriously from the day he walked away from Dad. When he came out after 30 days and was very much in control, I decided to give it a shot. But Eddie's treatments didn't work. He said, I was doing it for all the wrong reasons. I was doing it for my dad. I was doing it for my wife. I was doing it for Al. I wasn't doing it for me. So Eddie Van Halen left the Betty Ford Center and went right back to drinking. He said, I'd wake up in the morning and crack a beer. And then I'd drink another, and for lunch, another beer. Finally, Eddie took a long, hard look at himself, and he realized he's an alcoholic. And he got help. Quote, I went to a doctor, and he told me my liver was going, and that I'd better change my ways or I wouldn't be around too long. It scared the hell out of me. The difference is that this time I'm doing it for myself, no one else. Now, both Alex and Eddie Van Halen have kept the promise they made to their father to quit drinking. On Van Halen's current album, OU812, there's a dedication on the inner sleeve of the record. It says, this one's for you, Pa. Number 25 on American Top 40. Here's Van Halen. Finish what you started. Van Halen and Finish What You Started moves up 4 notches to number 25. It's the third Top 40 hit from an album that hit number 1, OU812. On American Top 40, I'm Shadoe Stevens, and a listener wants to know...
Hits from coast to